Hello, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. We have people joining us just coming through at the minute, so we might just give it one quick second or two just as these people come through. But delighted so many of you are here to hear about the awards. We are very excited. We've got some new plans for this year, so I'm going to chat through them shortly. So we'll just give it a minute while one or two more people are coming through. Okay, I think we'll kick off. So just, I suppose, well, good morning again, and a little bit of housekeeping. Hope everybody's well this morning, despite how grey it is out there. In terms of how this is all going to work, so I'm on your screen at the minute, and really just as a sort of a meet and greet, I'll disappear shortly. I'm going to go through some slides and talk a little bit about the awards, what our plans are for this year, and then take questions at the end of that piece. So you should all have a questions box over to the right of your screen. And if you want to type a question at any stage, I mean, you can type them as we go or hold off until we get to the end and pop the questions up there. And I will try to get to as many of the questions as I can. You're all on mute for the duration, so that's the only way to actually get something through if you want to put something into the questions box. I'll take a look at it there. So I'm going to disappear now, and we'll talk through this, and I will come back to the questions towards the end. So yes, well, as you all know, we're here to talk about the Impact Awards. So we're really pleased that they're going to go ahead. Obviously, there have been a number of events that have had to be pulled because of the current situation and where things stand with COVID-19. We are ploughing ahead with our date of the 26th of November, which was what we had earmarked earlier in the year, albeit the award ceremony will look a little different, and we've made some changes to the way in which we're submitting and the categories, which I'm going to talk through a little bit now. So if this works, no. Oh yeah, okay. Now, so here we go. Key dates. So we are going to be opening our calls for submission next week. You'll be pleased to know. I know some of you already have some submissions that they're planning to put forward, which is terrific. And we're going to keep them open and hold them open for the duration of the summer. So the closing date is the 4th of September this year. Really just because, I mean, we're very conscious that the summer is time for holidays, so it's to allow people to have a little bit of a break, but still be able to make the submission and give a bit of time and thought to what they're going to put forward. We are going to have an international judging panel, as we always do, and they will be convening on the 28th of September. We'll be doing that virtually, obviously, this year, but it will be running just as it always has. The 1st of October, we'll announce our shortlist, and that will be sent out by email to the tech transfer offices, to the directors, as we always do. And we will be running the video shooting. So anyone who's shortlisted will know, or anyone who has been shortlisted in the past will know, that we send our camera crew around to the various locations to talk to the tech transfer office, to talk to the researchers involved, and to talk through to the company. So that will be going ahead. We've spoken with our video company, and they're still working away at the minute, obviously following the various guidelines. So it may look a little different, but it will be happening. And then on the 26th of November, we will be having our award ceremony. And as I mentioned, we'll be doing that virtually. So we'll have a digital award ceremony, which will look a little different to the kind of ceremonies we've had the last few years. So the categories this year, we have made some changes to these, although they draw quite significantly on what we've done up until now. So they'll be relatively familiar, just look a little different. We have 4 categories. So we have the Industry Engagement Impact Award, and this is really pulling together the collaborative research award that we had previously, and the consultancy award that we had previously. So if you have a submission that you wanted to make under one or other of those, this is the category it goes into. It goes into the Industry Engagement Impact Award. The second we have is the Commercialization Impact Award, and this is bringing together the licensing and the spin-out awards. So again, if you had something that you had in mind from either category there, it comes in under the Commercialization Impact Award. The COVID-19 Response Award is something new this year. This is really about recognising some of the terrific stuff that's been coming out through the system in the last few months, and there really has been some great news to talk about. So what we'll be looking for here is commercialised research of any sort coming from your HEI, but specifically where your office, where the tech transfer office has been instrumental in making the commercialization happen or making the success happen. So that's the key to that piece. There's no point in submitting anything around you know, a success coming from the HEI unless you've had some sort of an input into making it happen. So that, I think that's quite important. The success that you're talking about or the impact that you'll be talking about in any of your submissions needs to have happened between the 1st of July last year and the 31st of July this year. Obviously, as in previous years, you know, the actual, if for example, under the collaboration piece, your collaborative research agreement may have been put in place several years prior to 2019, or you know, for example, the spin-out company may have been formed several years prior to 2019, but just experienced a particular key success or key impact that you're putting forward in between those dates, so in the last year. There's one submission per category per HEI, and that's at a very maximum. So you can submit a collaborative research, you can submit a spin out, but you cannot submit a collaborative research, consultancy, licensing and spin out. So you need to choose one or the other in each of the first 2 categories, and then one under the COVID-19 Impact Award if it applies. And the international judging panel will shortlist 9, so 3 across each of those 3 categories. Now, to those of you who are paying attention, I did say we had 4 categories this year. Our 4th is a People's Choice Award, which is something quite different for this year. And this is going to be voted for on the night. So it will be taken from the 9 shortlisted submissions that are going to be nominated and are going to be profiled at the award ceremony, and then we are going to have a vote, a people's vote or an audience vote for their preferred submission. So I think that'll be something interesting, and certainly we're looking forward to seeing how that works. So let's talk a little bit more about the submissions and how they look. We have an online submission form for each of the categories. We'll be sending out an email next week when the submissions open on the 6th of July. you'll receive a link to each of the submission forms. So you'll have 3 links, 1 per category for the industry engagement and I'll just go back there, for the first 3 there, the industry engagement, the commercialization impact and the COVID-19. There'll be a link for each of those sent to you by email. A new element is an elevator pitch that we're going to bring into this. And I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute or two. And that needs to accompany every submission in order to make it eligible and meet the criteria, the eligibility criteria. So online submission forms, as I mentioned, the links are going to go out to you guys on the 6th of July. They'll go out to all directors who can then circulate them amongst the team for discussion. The forms will also be available for download from the KTI website on the awards page, and a link will be included in the email to that page as well. You'll notice when you receive the forms that we've streamlined them. So we have cut them right back. They're much shorter, much more concise, only a couple of questions. And essentially, we're looking for 3 main things. We're looking for a little bit of background on the submission and the company that's involved. We're looking for a really compelling reason as to why it deserves to win. So the impact that you're putting forward, but why is that? Why does that impact matter? So why is this? So there may have been some particular kind of success that you want to nominate this submission for, and you need to actually elaborate on that really carefully to tell us why it deserves to win and why the judges should consider it a winner. And then thirdly, how were you instrumental, or how was your office instrumental in making the success happen? And that can be at any stage of the process. So you can go back to previously where, so it doesn't have to have, sorry, just to start again. So the TTO involvement can have been prior to the past year. So you can talk about the TTO involvement from the very beginning of the submission that you're talking about. So let's take an example. If it was a spin-out company, you can go back to when any kind of licensing may have taken place, and the support you may have given to the founders, the support you may have given in terms of making everything come together and bringing the company to fruition, any support you may have given around funding rounds, whatever it is that you're talking about, to highlight your involvement in that. Because after all, that's what we're having, well, that's why we host these awards, is to call out the important role that you guys all do. The key thing then is just to note the word count on each answer. So they are short. We're not looking for a long amount of information, or a big amount of information. We really just want to get to the point and to highlight the successes and understand enough about the background to give context. The elevator pitch. So this is really what we're looking for is a very short piece to camera, and it needs to be 60 seconds or less, telling us about the project, telling us why it deserves to win. So 30 seconds each. Really important. We do not want professional videos here. So this is really about speaking to your phone, into a laptop, into a tablet, something that you have to hand. Like phone videos are absolutely perfect if you have a relatively modern model. They take perfect videos, and that's what we're looking for. They're to be emailed separately to KTI, and again, we'll have details of the email address in the email that goes out to you next week around the submissions. As I mentioned, we need a written submission and an elevator pitch in order for the submission to be admissible. And I've already mentioned, it's basically we need background on the submission and the company involved, why it deserves to win, and how you were instrumental in making it happen. I'll talk a little bit about what that looks like, or what good looks like, but that's essentially what we're looking for, the 2 pieces together. So what does good look like? So in either the written or the video, we are looking for you to demonstrate, to illustrate impact or success, to demonstrate how that impact or success has actually manifested and how the TTO has been instrumental. So I think I've touched on each of those already. I'm not going to dwell. The impact can be on a company, on the HEI, or on society, like wider impact. For example, if it was some kind of a treatment or like a health treatment, or if it had some sort of wider impact for the economy or for society. When we talk about demonstrable, now this is something I've spoken to quite a few of you about previously, because often in the past when we get forms in and submissions in, we get statements within the forms of the company benefited from this research, for example. So that's great, and it's a great statement, but there isn't anything really behind it. What does good look like instead? So where we may have got something like that from one submission, what we've got from others has been the company benefited from this research because it led to ABC, which resulted in XYZ, and then that meant that 1, 2, 3 happened, and it can continue. But it's really about talking about how the actual impact has made a difference. You can talk about any kind of development or success for the company. So I mean, I'm talking about, this is really specific, I suppose, to the collaborative research, the consultancy piece, or the spin-out company piece. Indeed, the licensing will also come in too, but it's probably more relevant to the other three. But just to talk about sort of any product development, any growth in the company, any jobs that may have been created, new markets that have opened up, new products that might have been launched, etc. But link it back to the submission. So often we're left trying to work out or wonder whether the company's success is actually relevant to the submission. So it's really important to make sure you bring it back to the fact that you guys were involved and that the research came from your HEI. Tech transfer involvement, I've talked about that. Again, it can have been at any stage. It can have been at the inception, so at the beginning of the engagement, or at the piece of commercialization, and you can talk about any support or involvement that you've had throughout the process up until the success happened in the last year. The elevator pitch. So I mentioned it needs to be a maximum of 60 seconds, and actually anyone who knows anything about elevator pitches will know that that's quite long. Real elevator pitches, true elevator pitches are only 30 seconds. So in theory, you should be able to get it across whatever you're trying to say within that time frame. They need to be really snappy, succinct, persuasive, interesting. Just introduce the project in a sentence, maybe 2. Talk about why it should win in a sentence or maybe 2. It's not meant to plug any gaps in your written submission. Really, this is just about giving you an extra chance to put some personality and some life behind your submission. So it gives you a chance to stand in front of the judging panel and tell them what sets your submission aside or out from apart from the rest of the submissions that they're looking at. And then, as I mentioned, it's not to fill gaps, it's to reinforce your submission, your written submission. So it's just that extra little bit of why you're especially proud of the submission that you're putting forward, and why you think it should win. So then I've just got the key dates there as a reminder. You'll have all the links going out to you next week. You'll be able to come back to us with any questions. Rowena will be ready and waiting for anyone who needs any support or help around any of it. But for now, if anyone has any specific questions that come to mind, happy to take them. And as I said, we'll take them in the questions box there to the right of your screen. So I think I can see one here. So just give me a second. Okay, so question from Paul. So understood from Alison it was going to be all of 2019 and half of 2020 for the submissions date. Well, we've pulled it out this side, Paul, but the decision really was to run it from July of last year. I can double check that. I don't know if anybody else had heard it was going to be running from the beginning of 2019 last year. But let me have a look at that, and I can come back to you on that, because I know we did run it until the end of 2019 last year, so there may be a bit of overlap there that we're missing. So thanks for that. That's good to know. So I have another question here. So just for clarity, each HEI can only apply for one commercialization impact award, industry or engage. No, so you can apply for one commercialization impact award and one engagement impact award and one COVID-19 award. So the maximum number of submissions you can make are 3, 1 per category. Okay. Okay, Aoife, I have a question here. So in the case of collaborative projects between 2 HEIs, should it be a joint submission or should one take the lead? And if so, the other submit a separate application? Yeah, I think if it's a joint, you need to decide between yourselves who would like to put that forward. And if it's a joint, it's coming in under that lead. So the other HEI is free to make a second application or its own application, if that makes sense to you. Okay. Do we have any other questions? Okay. Well, we'll let you digest it. And as I said, if you have any questions or anything comes to mind, you can just come back to us and let us know. Oh, I have one last question here. Who should present the elevator pitch? Does it have to be the TTO? It does, yes, John. That does need to be, it needs to come from the TTO. It needs to come from the TTO director. So as in previous years, the submission should be made by the TTO director, and the elevator pitch needs to be made by the TTO director. That's not to say that they can't have input from the rest of their team. Could you produce an FAQ doc with the answers to any questions? Yes, of course. Sorry, Jennifer, that's very helpful. Yes, I'll be circulating a copy of the slides. There'll be a recording of the webinar available if anybody, I know a few people weren't able to make it this morning, so Rowena will be sending that out. And Jennifer's just made a very helpful suggestion that we produce an FAQ doc. So the FAQ will be, so it'll reference what we've just talked about, but we'll also have tips for submissions, which we had previously, and I'll include any answers to these questions as well, so you have them. I have another question here. Oh, Mihal, I think, was looking for something to be circulated. Yes, so hopefully that's answered that question. Can the company contribute to the elevator pitch? That's not really the purpose. So it's really about you guys giving yourselves one last push in terms of the project. So it's about you giving your rationale as to why this is being put forward. So it's not about having a few different people involved in the elevator pitch. Okay. So I think we've reached the end of it. That was a little flurry of questions that came there just as we were closing up. Nothing like a little bit of panic. But look, hopefully that's given you a sense of what we're looking for and how things are going to run this year. As I say, drop us an email if you have any other questions. We'll circulate this presentation along with an FAQ, which includes the answers to these questions. And if there are any others, do feel free to send us an email and we'll come back to you just as soon as we can. Obviously, other than that, we will have our email going out to you, our application email going out to you next Monday, and so you'll have links to everything at that stage. Okay. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming along this morning, and I hope you all have a lovely day.